welcome back to Star Trek, the original series, Season 1, Episode 23, A Taste of Armageddon, or as the real fans know it, well, actually also Episode 23. That this hasn't happened before. Yeah, I think this is the only time in Season 1 where the production order and the release order are the same. I'm pretty sure it's not the only time it's happened in the series. As you might be able to hear, it's breakfast time for the pugs, and the pug we're watching is very unhappy that he doesn't get to eat all the other pugs' breakfast. So that's why there's barking. He'll probably stop soon, though. He just does this for breakfast time. But yeah, A Taste of Armageddon. Well, first off, if you don't know what we're doing, because it'll give you some time to set up, we are basically recording an audio commentary track live. So what we're going to do, you see I've got the time bar for the video. Eventually I'll have a blurred version of the video. I can't just stream an episode of Star Trek for legal reasons, so it's bring your own video. There's a link to Paramount Plus in the description. I am personally watching a digital backup of my Blu-rays. I am watching the remastered edition today, as I always am. If you want to watch the original, that's fine. Personal preference. Everything should still sync up. It's just if I talk about a special effect, with this one's probably got a fair few, you'll be seeing something differently. That is the only difference, as far as I can tell. But yeah, A Taste of Armageddon, it's an interesting scenario, I'll give it that. This is the one where you have two planets that are both inhabited, both natively inhabited in the same system. Oh, maybe they're not native. I don't remember, but I always like that setup. I wish we did more with systems where there were two independent civilizations living on different homeworlds in the same system. I've always really liked that concept. But they're at war, but they're kind of like simulating everything. It is an interesting concept, I'll grant you, but I just remember pretty much fundamentally disagreeing with the morals of this episode. We'll see if maybe my opinions have changed, maybe I'm misremembering. But yeah, this is one of those TOS episodes. It's a morality episode that I can't really get behind. I think we'll save it. We'll save it for actually getting into the episode. We'll save it. I think we'll just get into the episode. So what we are doing is we're going to do a countdown. We're going to do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. As I realize I have to mute the system output for the stream. Yes, we're going to do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. And then on go, everyone's all going to hit play. And then just don't touch anything. Like if the stream cuts out for a few seconds, just don't touch, and we're all be synced up. So, let me look at my counter. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. And there we go. Always just waiting a second to see if that actually worked. I remember, I think one of the big problems I have at this episode we'll look for is it's one where it happens quite a lot. Kirk just kind of lands on a planet he knows nothing about, learns like one thing about their culture, then decides he knows best and totally overthrows their way of life without like actually considering or even thinking to consider the ramifications such an action would have, regardless of if he's actually correct or not about like the morality of the civilization, which he absolutely does not have enough information to figure out. I mean, I guess we are supposed to be based off America. Yeah, this is just, you know what? Here, for the first 5 minutes, I'm fully on board with Kirk here. It's like these people say, hey, stay away by all means. We also know it's for their own benefit. And then the ambassador is like, nah, screw that. We need to establish a dialogue, and so we're gonna go in guns blazing. 1960s Federation. Please change. Please. It would have been a lot better if you just changed that so that people are dying because of this war. I understand that that'd be difficult given, the war is simulated. But, like, then there's actually no, like, we need this dialogue. Our people are dying because the space is dangerous because of them. That would have been, like, much better. At the very least, it's not just an objective bad. That's Mars, right? That planet right there. Every time I always go, that's Mars, right? But, like, is it supposed to be Mars? Or is it even Mars? I'd love to know, but every time I see the intro. Wah, boom, boom. I do find it funny, though, how I think the 3 shots of the Enterprise we've seen this episode are all wildly different quality. That's a good one, though. I mean, the shot you get, like, every episode, but still. I feel like alien planets in sci-fi, they're often afraid of making any sort of pattern, and so their planets look really generic and dull. Like, you get mostly a continent with some random squiggles the whole way around, like it was the coast of Norway or something. But, like, think of Earth. Earth has, like, the boot of Italy, the Florida Panhandle. It's got, like, really interesting shapes and, like, things that you could say look designed. And I feel like we need to put aspects of that in our planets. I want alien planets to have, like, boots and panhandles and, like, interesting features that almost look intentional, not like an algorithm generated it to look random. From the traffic, I wonder if you could deduce, like, Capitol Hill or something from traffic. Like, how many people walk by the UN building every day compared to the rest of New York, you know? That's why I'm here and not engineering. I knew you would say this. Does the TOS actually have, like, a set chain of command for, like, if the captain's gone, Spock takes over? But if Spock's gone, is it always Scotty? Is there, like, a consistent hierarchy, or does it kind of change? Because I feel like it's often Scotty, but we can get a bunch of random people in command. Nice city, though. Oh, it is remastered, yeah. It was like, man, that's really good for the 60s. Oh, it's the 2000s. The sets are good, though. Like, and those aren't remastered for like the utopian city vibes. Your instrumentation. Oh my god, wait, no, I take it back. Those, like, extras that were green screened into the city, that wasn't done well. I would have loved it if Kirk was kind of like, I know, that's what I told my ambassador. Were aspects of these uniforms reused later for like Romulans or maybe Klingons or something? That's the most evil looking council I've ever seen. I'm sorry. I don't know, something about just the positions, the black uniforms, the fact that half of them have like Doctor Who master hair. Brilliant, no complaints. Oh, they're named. They might survive. Is it actually impossible? Like, what is it about the war that means you can't have diplomatic relations with someone? I'd expect you'd want, diplomat. Like, Russia's in a war, and it's got diplomatic relations with a few countries. At the very least, it talks with, like, countries it's hostile to. Ah, it was a colony, dang it. I mean, it doesn't really matter. I just always... I want interesting solar system setups. Stuff like the Zindi, or just different cultures. Because something that's... Homo sapiens, us, we are the last surviving humans and have been for virtually all of human history. That's really weird, right? Like, nobody understands why we, like, every other human went extinct except us. And every other sci-fi just kind of takes it as read that, like, there's one dominant species on every planet. But why don't we have, like, variations? Like, I would... If every planet actually has one species, explore that, because that's really unusual and like a legitimate unanswered question for our own world. Like, you'd expect things like the Zindi to be way more common. All right. So as I said before, they're simulating these attacks, right? And then everyone who died has to go die. The episode is going to treat it like, because there's no damage to society or infrastructure or all that junk, the people have basically gotten used to the war and they're not affected by the deaths, and so they're never going to go to peace. And the argument of the episode is basically that war should be horrible or else we wouldn't try to avoid it. What if instead of simulating the war, it was an actual legitimate war? However, the aliens were materializing, like, I don't know, a biobomb that had absolutely no effect on the planet, but it's a DNA bomb. It'll kill all life of this target species. Well, that's a real war. That's not simulated, and I don't think that Kirk would have come down here and said the same thing about how you're forgetting it. Like, if 3 million people die every year, you don't just go, well, my job is intact. Half a million? Are there 4 attacks a year? Maybe the planet orbits really fast. I'm like, isn't it, like... Let's consider real worlds wars, right? Like, landmines are horrific and stay for, like, decades after the actual conflict. Um, Russia could pull out of Ukraine tomorrow, and, like, eastern Ukraine is gonna be, well, literally a minefield for, like, ages. But, like, we still use them. That doesn't stop us from waging war. Like, the attack, the damage to infrastructure doesn't stop people from declaring war. It just means that once we finish the war, it takes a lot longer to rebuild. And rebuild we do. Why, like, this does just seem better. Thank you, Spock. No, Spock, I take it back. You're about to disapprove. Yeah, I don't understand the argument here. And I feel like the counter argument is never really kind of properly explored. This is just like, it's similar to the episodes you get in sci-fi about immortality, where you have some immortal character who waits immortality and just goes like, life is miserable if you're immortal, therefore death is important. It's sort of a self-fulfilling story, where you wrote, with immortality, you wrote a character who hates being immortal. So, like, yes, of course, they think immortality is bad, but you just as easily could have written a character who loved it. Oh, look at those green screen people I was talking about. But, you know, this episode writes a species that wages its war with computers to, like, minimize the damage after the war of a war. And then it wrote that civilization to basically not care that 3 million people die every year for, like, the past a long time. But you just as easily could have written a world that actually did care that, you had a significant chance of suddenly dying at any given moment and actually cared about that fact like you probably would. I agree. Like, it's just, why 500 years, right? I wish they said the population, but, like, 500,000 people died today. Um, Even if, let's say the city has, like, 5 million people. Um, so what is that? What actually is that? 500,000 divided by 5. I know, shut up. Yeah, I thought so. 10%. Like, imagine if any day you just had a 10% chance of dying because your city was virtually bombed. You'd probably care about that. You'd probably want your civilization to stop going to war. It's similar to the episodes where they go to a planet that has the death penalty for, like, everything, and they go, oh, there's no crime. It's like, you do realize that in the real world, countries with the death penalty regularly execute people because it wasn't a big enough deterrent. It's like, what are you talking about? Wait, he could just change his... I assumed it was simulated, but, alright, I guess he could just do that. Fair enough. I don't actually know what tipped him off. Oh, he's just checking that. I see. You should probably run that automatically for, like, literally every communication, right? And just flag it. I could see that as like a Lower Decks episode. At the end of the episode, someone does that check. It's like, computer, it's like 100% probability. Well, why didn't you tell me? You didn't ask. Oh, is this where we get the mind meld for the first time? I think it might be. But yeah, in case you forgot, back in the 60s, Vulcans were, like, way more telepathic than they actually are later on in the franchise. And Spock truly has some weird moments where, yeah, he literally just, like, mind controls people from, as you can see, behind a wall. He's given it his all, though, Leonard Nimoy. Like, really, really caressing that wall. I could totally see this, though, being the sort of thing that, like, I don't know, Star Trek Academy has a Vulcan do for one episode, and then people are like, oh, it's fine. They did it, like, in the 60s, and then never again for the next 60 years. And, in fact, it would be weird if Vulcans could do that. Nice gun, though. You know, I'm curious if, like, the war is simulated. The guns that the guards carry aren't simulated. So, like, you could potentially have used this as a place to explore. Like, if that is a more real death, so to say, than the simulated war, why is it that is it viewed differently to this civilization? Or probably how it would actually go, you would point out that a death by that gun and a death by your simulated war are viewed equally, to try and, like, establish this society is, it actually established, like, this society's side as anything other than crazy, which is what this episode tries to present it as. Like, you know, I don't like war. I don't like that, you know, cities and stuff get literally bombed and, like, reduced to rubble because of war. But that is absolutely not that's not, like, anywhere near the top of the list of why I don't want to go to war. It's more the life toll, you know, that you can rebuild a civilization if you really had to, but these people just don't seem to care. Because they are dutiful, I guess? Why is Kirk... Look at that smile on Kirk's face. That is not a responsible Starfleet officer. That is a man who wants to blow stuff up because he disagrees with the first thing he learned about this planet. And that's what really gets me. Kirk hasn't actually attempted to articulate why he disagrees. He's just, whenever questioned, constantly is like, no, I disagree. Like, you're dumb. Can't you see my way? But also, the people at the civilization they've explained why they do what they do, but like they haven't really ever been probed about anything because Kirk's not bothered about questioning them, and they're not bothered about questioning Kirk. So you just kind of presented a scenario with the writer going, these guys are right, these guys are wrong, and assuming you'll agree. And so it's really frustrating when not just you don't agree, well, you disagree with it, but even if you just don't inherently agree and like want to explore them, it's really frustrating. And see, that right there is why you need fire extinguishers in your alien hallways. This is where you'd put your commercial cliffhanger. Yeah, there we go. There we go. That was your cliffhanger. Sensors reading 0. Sure. We don't need to be more specific than that. The sensors aren't even reading the planet or the moons, but they're reading 0, all right. Is his name Mr. Topol? That's fun. Wait, sonic vibrations. You know, the problem with TOS isn't that they don't really understand space or orbital mechanics. It seems like these suggest that they genuinely fly their ships, they orbit within atmosphere, just for baffling reasons, as the standard orbit, because otherwise I don't know how they're getting attacked by sound. For that matter, I'm not even sure if disruptors would prevent sound waves. I mean, they don't in, like, a prison cell. I mean, he's right. Man, I'm jumping all around with who I agree with this episode, because, like, this ambassador is absolutely right. You're currently safe. You haven't attempted, like, a diplomatic solution. You don't even know why they're firing. Like, at least try. Oh no, the dramatic... Who wrote this episode? I actually want to know who wrote it. Scotty, please. Look, we haven't even got to the part where you, like, systemically hate women, but you're really not doing good setting yourself up for that. Star Trek, a taste. Like, you could do some really interesting stuff here with how this woman is willing to die for her civilization, so her civilization can go on and not have to endure, like, the devastatingness of this war. And Kirk is also absolutely willing to die to protect the United Federation of Planets and to protect what he believes in, and most importantly, to protect others who are this is the same motivation. You do realize this. You realize you both have the same point of view here, and you could explore this, and you could explore why the characters think that the scenario... Like, why does Kirk think the scenario is different? Why does Kirk think that her sacrifice is invalid? God, I would have loved if at the end of this episode, when he destroys this computer, they both just destroy each other, and then Kirk goes, oh. He's taking a massive gamble here. Remember how much worse Earth... Okay, that's established later, stuff like World War III and the eugenics episodes. Yes, it's next episode, but it is later. Like, think about how many civilizations have gone to war totally, like, willing to do the destruction. We know literally nothing about the enemies these guys are facing. For all Kirk knows, they could be genocidal maniacs hell-bent on wiping these guys out at all costs, who have agreed to use this simulated battle because they're actually quite evenly matched, and while they might want to destroy their enemy, they themselves don't want their infrastructure destroyed. And if their infrastructure was destroyed, they couldn't win the war. That's a valid possibility, right? I mean, Kirk already seems to think these people are making insane, irrational decisions, and so if you think that's insane and irrational, what I've just proposed, why is it different? So, Kirk knows nothing about those other people. Even if, from what Kirk has seen on this planet, he can fully and reasonably conclude with 100% accuracy that this race will want to stop the war if it wasn't simulated. He has no reason to believe the other people are the same. In fact, these two civilizations are at war, which implies that the enemy is extremely different. You know, they're so different that they were willing to declare war on each other. So you might even have a reason to believe that the other people would not be willing to stop the conflict. Lower Deck. Hey, you know Lower Decks has that program where it goes back and visits alien civilizations. I want to see these guys dead just because I really hate Kirk in this episode. Like, even if he's right, he does not have enough information to know he's right, and he does not have enough information to know the effect this will have on the civilization. And, like, it might, like, even if ending the war is good, but this may not be the best way to do it, you know? You can't just fundamentally change a society like that. I've got here Memory Alpha for the episode. Story by Robert Hammer. He wrote... Ooh. He only wrote this episode. He didn't write any others. Not for Star Trek, at least. Hey, is this the is this the first... I was gonna say, is this the first example of results-oriented thinking? Actually, that's a lot of evidence to not lower the screens. That's fair enough. Let's see. He hates women. He thinks using a phaser is good, and he committed mutiny. You know what? This is the chief engineer we want on the Enterprise. By the way, when we watch the next season of Strange New Worlds, I'm never gonna let Scotty forget that he just hates women. Like, pathologically hates women. And it's just an accepted thing in this universe. If you're forgetting what I'm talking about, it's the one with Jack the Ripper in it. It's a major plot point that Scotty just hates women and thinks they're lesser than men. That's the man we want on our starship. What was your first impression? Yeah, a little harsh, but fair. Oh, yeah, here's that 60s thing. I think it's academically interesting to look at these shows that came out in the Cold War era, with the very real and recent threats of, like, total nuclear annihilation and two the last two generations going through like total wars, to like see how deeply that actually affected the people who lived at the 60s and under the Cold War. It's just also so fundamentally different to at least how I see the world now, that I literally cannot comprehend this viewpoint. We get so many times, not just in Star Trek, Doctor Who has it a few times in the 60s, of people being like, oh yeah, we're all murderers and savages and like everything just sucks. Bye. Like even in Utopia, there's no way we can get around the fact we're all bad. Yeah. No, you herd the civilizations into the military, and then you just kill them that way. I do love this guy in his role. Like he's a delight. As much as I hate vast aspect of this episode's, this guy's a light. Oh, I see. Like, this guy's having a delight. He's being, like, brought around at gunpoint, but he doesn't care. I really get, the Master vibes from Doctor Who for this guy. Like, I could absolutely see this as a classic Master. I'm all for it. Wow, and he managed to keep his shirt intact. I don't think that's William Shatner. You fools! You captured their stunt doubles! Yeah, no way is that going to be William Shatner. Or did we see his face when he walked out the door? Ooh, I don't know. It's just something about the back of his head didn't look right. I will say the pacing of this episode is pretty good so far. I just looked down at the time bar and I was surprised how much was left. Kind of in a good way, though. It feels like we've gone through a lot. Now you shall die. I do wonder, like, he is a particularly bad ambassador. Like, is he kind of new at this? Or I know the episode is playing it is like, oh, he's a diplomat, therefore he's naive, which I've complained enough about this episode as it is. But I don't know. He is just like, he almost seems to think as a diplomat, like absolutely nothing can go wrong, which just seems like a weird take. I guess maybe if we still have like really strict diplomatic immunity and stuff like that, but it's a little too far for me. Whoa, what is that communicator? Oh, well, that's okay, Scotty. We didn't like him. Why is the guy in the background just letting this happen? Did I miss something? Oh, those are the red shirts. I did miss something. Okay. The downsides of talking over the episodes is, yes, sometimes you do miss those things. In looking around, this is a fairly dangerous room to keep her in. I guess it's the room they were given. You know, beggars can't be choosers, but... So cool. I love as well how the guy in the gray suit seemed to just know that was gonna happen. Like, he's prepared. That man read the briefing. I was gonna say peculiar act of diplomacy versus act of war, but technically I do suppose that this planet committed an act of war first. Like, they did literally kidnap a diplomat and attempt to kill the crew. Um, it's certainly one for the lawyers, I'll give you that. That's already happening! Why are we not acknowledging that's already happening? Okay, sure, the disintegration booth is probably, like, a bit better than, you know, certain things that can happen in war, but... I don't know. It just seems to think that the fact that they're dying in the manner they are completely negates all of the negatives of being killed, which is baffling. Did no one in the show, like, ever have someone they know die? I mean, they just came after, as I said, like, a world war. Are we doing the Vietnam War yet? I'm not quite sure, but, like... It's just, especially in the midst of the Cold War, where, like, you're actively living under threat of nuclear annihilation that is extraordinarily real. Like, even at this point in history, there were multiple times where we became one person in the wrong place at the right time from total nuclear annihilation. The idea that, oh, well, you know, if it was simulated, no one would care. It's like, what? What do you mean? Like, think about total nuclear annihilation currently is fairly unlikely, but a lot of people still really, really, really care about it. Oh, God, I just remembered that General Order 23 is actually a real thing. Because there wasn't enough about this episode. Every star... Like, General Order 23 is, destroy an entire planet. Here, he'll say it. So, according to Starfleet, you have the Prime Directive. You have 22 other things more important, and then the 24th most important thing that a Starfleet vessel could ever have is literally destroy an entire planet. Just blow it up, kill everyone, mass genocide. Oh, okay, sure. That's the Federation. I don't know what the 24th most important thing should be, but I don't think, totally obliterate a planet should be on the list of general orders whatsoever. Hot take, I know. I mean, that's a pretty horrific act, in my opinion, and Kirk seems perfectly willing to actually destroy the planet. I mean, sure, he's not. He doesn't think he's actually going to have to go through with it, but you do see the point I'm making that apparently, destroy a planet is the 24th most important order in Starfleet, and that implies they actually do it, even though it's not simulated. It's just bad. Like, okay, man, picture this other side. We're now, the planet we're on has abandoned the treaty, right? And there's the immediate threat of escalating to where now your civilization could actually collapse. So why don't you literally fire everything instantly, potentially even prematurely, to wipe them out before they get a chance to wipe you out? Do we have mutually assured destruction? I mean, I'm not sure we do. I'm not sure this world could actually mobilize fast enough to prevent that because they're so used to simulated battles. And Kirk sure as hell doesn't know that, let alone what the other planet can do. So, like, yeah, I really don't like this episode that doesn't seem to want to explore its subject matter and just has Kirk decide he's right and so overthrow a government. Yay. Like, also, what if this computer, like, I don't know, also managed the agriculture of the city, or was like the entire power grid, or something critical beyond the war effort? He's just about to blow it up, because, nah, it's not important. It could be maintaining, like, the nuclear reactor under the city that you could be there, you don't know. Like, God, think through your actions. This is exactly what, what's it called? The Cogenitor episode of Enterprise was trying to get at, and I think a lot of people miss. I did a video on this with the Prime Directive doesn't make sense and why it's not supposed to. I think it's called, where I'll link it in the chat after this, but it's like the point isn't whether or not Kirk is right. The point is that Kirk doesn't have nearly enough information to actually determine if he's right or what the best course of action is or what the consequences of his actions will be. And that's why we don't interfere, is because through our ignorance and our desire to do good, we could accidentally commit like massive genocides and destabilize planets, detopple quadrants. Just make things far worse. And that if Kirk actually wanted to solve this problem, he's going to need dedicated time to actually understand the scenario, and hell, probably even use that diplomat to try and establish a peace treaty. Like, you literally have an ambassador and a diplomat on board the ship. Why not make effort to try and establish a peace? At least make an effort between these two people before you start the military action. He just goes straight to, like, destroying everything. It's just irresponsible. Oh, whoops. Gonna hide the time bar for a sec. Here we go. Copy link address. It's an old one, 2 years ago, but I've just linked in the chat. Star Trek's Prime Directive makes no sense and why it's not supposed to. Which I am quite proud of that one. Whoops. Anyway, luckily that wasn't controlling a massive nuclear reactor under the city, killing everyone. Okay, but also, that was hooked up to the weapons, which I'm pretty sure we have established are hooked up to real weapons. It's just all simulated, You click the fire my gun button, which is a real gun, and then it just pretends to fire the gun. Which means that now this planet is totally incapable of defending itself, and the other enemy is fully within its legal right to fire actual weapons. Meaning that this enemy we know nothing about, except that they are unlike these people enough to enter war, now has the full capability to obliterate this world, has absolutely nothing to fear from that world because they are totally incapable of defending themselves. And even if they don't know that, if they just fire their weapons, it would happen anyway. And Kirk's just like, yay, we won! Oh, is this the Don't Kill Today episode? Okay, even if I'm gonna do something crazy and accept Kirk's premise, what happens if you decide to kill tomorrow, though, Kirk? Like, oh, because that worked so well back in the 60s. Let's see! That's literally what he does anyway, is here to try and establish peace between the two people. Like, the episode knew this was an option. Have you tried to use it this whole episode? Oh, no, you didn't. That's okay. It's only like the biggest crisis of the past 500 years. I'm sure you don't need that hotline. Oh, wait, I've just remembered, Kirk. Our direct military hotline went through the computer you blew up. Like, do you not see the countless possible problems with this episode? But the episode refuses to acknowledge any of them. Refuses to even, like, explore its subject matter. And then goes, yay, everybody, we did it. We saved the city. Yeah. Space Seed's probably going to be better. That's tomorrow. Yay. He did it. I'm so justified. I feel so morally vindicated in my moral position. Oh, so... But... No. Like... No. I mean, as the guy mentioned, they probably would have taken out, like, agriculture. Like, one of the things he said is it'll disrupt the food production. Mass starvation is what he said. And then even if that ended the war, you would have the lingering effects of the starvation. You would have the decreased population. You would have an effect on your birth rates. You would have massive change that would probably increase the levels of death. Power outages from when a power outage goes out, and now, oh, everyone in your hospital died because you ran out of power. Like, no, Kirk, way more people would die. It'd be far worse, Kirk. No, stop, Kirk, go away, shoo, bad episode, fight me. Thank you, everybody, for this episode. Oh, look, it's space eBay? No, it's bought in eBay. It's Space Seed. That's what I was going for. God, the original effects look really bad. Yeah, I don't know if you picked up on it, but I'm not a fan of this episode, and I knew I wasn't a fan going in, but I forgot just how many things I regularly cite as bad were in this episode. In fact, I'm surprised it's not referenced in the video I linked about, like, the Prime Directive and why it's important. It very much feels like a product of its time in all of the worst ways. The cynical, almost nonsensical worldview of, like, all of humanity as killers who have to, like, make conscious decisions every day not to commit murder. The failure to recognize, like, not only different cultures, but how best to make the world better. And when you go to a culture that has a problem, you know, that like maybe it has mass enslavement or something, or maybe, you know, there's these massive wars. How to actually go about bringing real change to the world, which in a decade as like turbulent as it was, like how to effectively bring about change seems like a pretty important message you could have gotten across if you did it right. It's just it's a product of its time in all the worst possible ways. But what's not a product of its time, actually, I have to check my calendar. Space Seed, of course, introducing Khan, will be next week. The 2 weeks after, there will be no Star Trek. There should still be Doctor Who. But yeah, that might have been the worst episode we've seen the whole season. We had like a dull one or two, but that one makes me angry. So yeah, I will say thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.